Sabah al-khair, Sabah al-fal. I see some of you are still connecting to audio. Sabah al-fal, Sabah al-yasmin. So some of you might have been a bit saddened by the results of the football yesterday. I even though my partner is French, I was secretly cheering for Morocco because of the Global South connection. But anyway, but this is recorded, so he's going to know about it. I just wanted to say a warm welcome to everybody and say that we have been, throughout these weeks working very hard on the different elements of skills anticipation and South-South cooperation in the GCC. And today we have a very special panel. So I'm going to introduce who will be speaking. We will have first some introductory words from Feisha Lee that will recall what we have been doing in the past weeks and what we'll do today. We will have Stefano Merante with a more technical presentation on peer learning and skills anticipation. After that, we have a kind of a little BRICS panel because we have Anastasia Pavlova that will be explaining an experience of the G20 that had been Russian funded on the skills. We have Floros Prinsloo, who is working in SETA with a very specific presentation on South Africa and a little touch on some SADC words as well. And we have Yutong Liu, who will be presenting also from the China-ASEAN perspective, what it's been doing in terms of skills anticipation. So it's been really a very long journey, and we have also a Padlet, which is available, and maybe Duncan and Asma can copy it here so that we can, while we are speaking, we can continue working on our Padlet analysis. That is, again, looking into some of the peer learning aspects of GCC and what you can do together. Stefano, what I retain of the other sessions that you missed because you cannot clone yourself and you were in different training activities. And the most interesting part was that we had a request for having a platform for GCC, skills anticipation platform. So I think that's a very interesting request. It was recurrent in all the workshops, all the exercises we've done. Apart from other very interesting ideas, but let's say this was the one that came all the time. So maybe something we can think on in terms of either with Yutong's project or with your projects or with our South-South funds or with some support really of GCC, how to actually concretely do that. Our colleagues who are here, I see Shaima and Fatima were very proactively reporting back on that. So I'm sure they today can explain during the discussion what was said in more details. So without much further ado, because we have lots of speakers, but we also want some time for interaction, I'll give the floor to my colleague, Feisha Lee, which I have already introduced. So I'm not going to reintroduce, but she's also one of the colleagues in the Emerging and Special Partnerships Unit working on partnerships from the Global South. So over to you, Feisha.
Thank you, Anita, for the introduction. And also you have already introduced all the star speakers we have today, especially also those who have given us a very good, excellent presentation last time. We have learned the methods and approaches for skills anticipation and matching last time. And the presentations made by Kishore and George have set the stage for the reflection on this important topic. So with the discussion on opportunities for knowledge sharing on skills anticipation and matching among GCC, I think all the participants have provided very good thoughts on this issue, such as engage more with the ITC ILO and other ILO departments, the creation of partnerships between the different ministries, and also how to transfer best practices about the skills available in each country and to adapt them to the requirements of the Gulf and the international labor market. Those are very good thoughts, and I do think these reflections need further exploration with the support of our experts today. So as you have mentioned, today we would have experience sharing from South-South cooperation practitioners, like the G20 skills and BRICS experience from Anastasia with her very insider perspective. And also the SETI example from South Africa expert Floris Prinsloo about the wisdom of South Africa. I think this is quite unique experience sharing, and hopefully we could all get some deeper looking of the South-South cooperation, how to support the skills anticipation and matching. And also, we have a very important presentation from Mr. Liu Yutong. So he actually, I would like to say about the ILO China SSTC program that has created the South-South Cooperation Skills Development Network, encouraging the skills development through peer learning between China, Laos, Cambodia, and other ASEAN countries. So I think this could also answer some of the points mentioned by our participants about the important question last time. That is the elements raised about training platforms, a shared virtual platform, and to share this skills anticipation matching experience among GCC platform that will combine all the GCC countries, and also to create a unified platform to share knowledge of like strategic plans of GCC countries. And all those could, maybe we could have some inspiring thoughts after this session. So with all that, I think I could hand over to Anita and to say the important presentations from these speakers. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Pesha. This was an excellent recap of what will be said, and I hope that that the participants here will be benefiting from the South-South experience. So let's move to our first scene setter, let's put it this way, and then we go to the panel. The scene setter will be Stefano Merante, who you all know, because he will be presenting some key elements that will be part of the reflection today. Over to you, Stefano.
Thank you very much, Anita, and just confirm that you can see my slides.
Yes, we can, Stefano.
Okay, perfect. Yes. So we are at the end of this learning journey, and I would really like to thank all of you, in particular George, Anita, Duncan, Nancy, Feisha, for having been, let's say, with you all along this journey. This is the, let's say, the last session. My input will be on what to do with skills anticipation exercise results. I think this is very important to actually conclude the circle of the skills anticipation mechanisms that you have been going through. It will be a very quick presentation. I'm going to just give you a couple of slides and then just one country example that can be inspiring in this sense, the work that the ILO has done in Cambodia. So let's look at it. So when we are speaking in this fourth model, the idea is how can we transform what we have done in terms of skills anticipation into the policy and the practice. So we have these two elements, how we can use this. There are, of course, many difficulties and challenges in doing so. And that's where, of course, peer learning and experience sharing with other countries can really help. And that's why we have created this panel for you today. And of course, this course as well with all the GCC countries was also an opportunity to exchange among the different countries. And then later on with the panel and with the Padlet discussion, you are going to reflect also a bit more how you can use this knowledge, how you can create partnerships during the course in your work. So this is a very important thing. I mean, when we look at skills anticipation, we are looking at data. data that we collect. We have seen also how with the different methods that have been presented throughout the course. We need to be able to make this data information, first of all, and trying to really, let's say, package all this information in order to make it digestible by technical people, but also by people that are not working in the day by day on the skills policies. Then we need to actually transform this information into knowledge. This information that is created through combining all the different data sources is really, I mean, we need to make it interiorized by the different stakeholders. And here we are talking at national level, but also at over-national level, so supranational level. If we're talking about, for instance, the GCC countries, how can we disseminate, how can we make this information and knowledge actually available for all the different countries? But then, and this is the top of the pyramid, we need to actually put the knowledge make the knowledge available to the decision maker, to those who are defining the policy, both at national but also at regional level. And here it's where it's very important to have appropriate institutional mechanisms to do so. Social dialogue based, including different actors. We spoke about this also in the initial course, the importance of social dialogue at national but also at regional level. So this pyramid will also, at the end of the day, help us transforming this into new policies, into changes that we want to implement. What is very important is that every method that you have studied throughout this course has a specific use. So you cannot use, let's say, for instance, tracer studies to develop a skills policy. Tracer studies will tell you a story, will tell you which are the skills that are missing in our curriculum, how to better inform potential students of the TVET sector. Same goes, for instance, for sectoral approaches. So if you use STED, for instance, ILO approach, you can develop sector skills strategies, you can support sector skills council, but this cannot be used for the whole system. Same thing with quantitative models and forecasts. So you can use this, on the contrary, to feed into major policy reforms with a long-term impact, how to design ALMPs. So the different methods can be used in different ways. But at the end of the day, what is important is that we need this information for better career guidance and for better planning or policy design initiatives. And this is important also in a peer learning perspective, because if we are looking at the national level, this can help, of course, setting up my own country policies. But all this data is also important in the relationships, in the interactions that each country has, for instance, with the surrounding countries. That's why, and just to give you a concrete case, the European Union decided to develop a skills panorama. Skills panorama is not a country level skills anticipation tool, but it's a tool that helps European Union to reflect jointly about the challenges that exist in the labor market. So always this double level, national level, but then also inter-country collaboration. Why? Because our labor markets are increasingly interdependent. And so it's important, we have had a lot of discussion in the different courses that are running at the same time around this interoperability of the different labor market systems. What is important is that when we look at skills needs anticipation, there are some obstacles there, but the obstacles are not all the same in the different contexts. Here in this slide, you look at what are the perceived obstacles by national ministries, so by the public sector actors. And of course, there is a lot of the topics that we have already discussed also in the initial course: coordination with other agencies, lack of funds, let's say, lack of interest by other policymakers, poor statistical infrastructure. And those are actually bigger if we look at low or middle income countries. In high income countries, there is a lot of also emphasis on human resources, so the actual capacities of the people that are in this system. But if we enlarge a little bit the scope, and it's not just the government, but we take also into account employers and workers' organization, there are some things change, of course. So, for instance, what has become bigger is that different actors may need different data. So the disaggregation of data are there. The fact that consultation need to be taken into account. Very often you hear people outside, stakeholders outside the government of actually criticizing the fact that they are not involved at every step. And this is, of course, becoming a different, let's say, a different topic. To be very clear, these are the three main uses of the results of skills needs anticipation and skills needs matching exercises. First of all, is about policies. So we need data, we need evaluation of what we did in order to better design the next cycle of our skills development policy. And this is the first key use. The second, and this is very important for the training system, is that the skills anticipation exercises give us data around the occupations that are out there in the labor market, be it the national labor market, but also more interestingly on what is happening, for instance, in your region. That's why I am very encouraged by this idea of the GCC skills anticipation platform, because this will help us better understanding which are the skills that are required for each occupation, not only in my country, but also in the neighboring countries where also labor force could actually also move. So all this information needs to be translated into updated competency standards. Occupations are evolving, and so competency standards need to evolve as well. Otherwise, our training is outdated vis-a-vis the needs of the labor market. And then the third, of course, very important for the individuals in our countries is skills matching. So can we intermediate between the demand and the offer of labor? And that's where it is also very, let's say, the international multi-country perspective is also very important, because 30 years ago, we trained someone in Brazil to work in Brazil. Now we are training a young person in Brazil that could go and work in France, in Dubai, in Nairobi. So this is, we need a more integrated system, a more, let's say, also collaborative system. And that's why also the rationale of this course of bringing all of you together here. Another point that is very important is career guidance, career counseling. Not only for young people, we tend to think about career guidance, especially for young people, but we are also looking increasingly at career guidance for people that are already in the labor market. Occupations are shifting. So I am a 50-year-old, I risk to lose my job. I need to be upskilled and reskilled, but I need skills anticipation initiatives to better understand on which topic I need to be reskilled and upskilled. Digitalization is there. All the different drivers of change that you have seen in the first webinar are there. Labor migration, of course, our labor markets that are interconnected. So this is very important to take into account. I'm going to conclude very quickly with the example of the work that the ILO has done on skills anticipation and the use of skills anticipation results in Cambodia. Before the formulation of the new national employment policies, there were a lot of background studies using different methods that we have also seen in our course that were done. Create an evidence-based before developing a policy. But the evidence is not enough. Evidence need to be discussed, need to enter into the social dialogue. And that's how it was done through tripartite consultation involving the government, the employers, and the workers, to socialize this data and try to see how can we use this data for the new employment policy. Then there was a very specific, and this I think it's very interesting input, there was a very specific study that was done to understand the needs of the employers in the country. Before developing the policy, what is our economy in need of? So this was very important. And here, once again, there was an inter-country collaboration, let's say a North-South collaboration, because the questionnaire was designed also in collaboration with the UK Employer Skills Survey, CEDEFOP's EU Employer Skills Needs Survey. So there was, the idea is not just we concentrate, we focus on our country, but first of all, we try to understand what works in other contexts in order to use this. And it was very important because this was also another element of the baseline that was needed. And in particular, there was a very important focus on, we always talk about skills mismatch, but why was there skills mismatch in 2018 in Cambodia? So we asked the employers to tell us which were the causes of hard to fill vacancies, and also why, in their opinion, employees are not performing up to the level that they are requested. So once again, more data. And here, the interesting thing is that you can then develop and align new policies. Employment policy, you see on the left side, but also skills, supply side, vocational education policies. And here, what is important, here we can talk about this at country level, is how these two policies are aligned. And they are aligned thanks to the data. But once we have developed the policy, the thing is not over. This is just a document, but we need to be able to implement this. And once again, skills anticipation can help us. Now, after having defined the national priorities, let's get into the sectors that need to be strengthened. And that's why we have deployed our STED approach, the sectoral approach that the ILO has developed in order to support sector skills strategy design. And so we were looking at what were the issues, which were the systemic response to be put in place, aligned with the national policies, and then how to implement this. And now you cannot do everything at the same time. So there were some clear occupations that were important, that were identified, and on which then the government decided to invest in order to improve upskilling and reskilling. So thanks to this, the skills anticipation actually make it to the highest level. So NIA in Cambodia, the National Employment Agencies, became by decree the designated statistical units in order to work on LMI. And this is a good practice until now. So this was what I wanted to share with you in my initial, let's say, reflections, how we can work, how we can use those skills anticipation that now we know a lot of, more than what we did some years ago. And this is really important because this is what is going to help us in not only doing studies and researches, but actually using this data to make a change, to contribute to the change. And this change can be a national level. I have just mentioned the case of Cambodia, but it can be also at supranational level through different, let's say, actions that can be implemented in different countries at the same time in order to have a more harmonized, a more aligned also training offer, but also policy offer in the countries of a specific region. I think I made it in the 15 minutes I promised, Anita. So I will leave you the floor because there is a whole lot of speakers that are going to come up.
Yes, thanks, Stefano. I think you were even did it in 13 minutes, which is fantastic, considering we have a lot of speakers. Also, I think it was a great introduction because I'm going to give the floor now to Yutong Liu, because he's actually managing a project in China with a South-South cooperation between China, Cambodia, and Laos. So you were actually giving some kind of a pre-appetizer to the, context of the Asia and the Pacific. So thanks for that. And thanks for the very concrete also elements. I know you have a 50-minute presentation, and maybe you can actually share it with us, the full presentation here in the chat. I know it will be in the campus as well, because then people can benefit from the whole presentation. But anyway, over to my BRICS brother, Yutong Liu. He's been very active working with us, and even before Stefano, he was also working very actively with SNEHO in the BRICS 2 Knowledge series. He spent a lot of time working for us last year. He was reminding me it was over 40 hours. I don't know, so it was a lot, or maybe more, and over I don't know how many weeks. So he had the second job in ITT Turin and Pardev, which I think we owe him. And he's been very actively promoting this skills project for ASEAN with a focus on Laos, Cambodia, and Myanmar. So over to you, Yutong, and maybe the colleagues from GCC will be able to share some experience and profit from the ideas that are here. Thanks.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you, colleagues. I'm so happy to join Anita once again. I remember last year we had very extensive programs initiated by Pardev. So I'm so happy to join from Bangkok. Greetings from Bangkok. I would like to share my screen. Hopefully you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I put here actually this idea was initiated when we first started the ILO China project. However, it was further confirmed with Anita and also with Twin Center, because in the past couple of years, there were a series of this kind of program, especially we give emphasis on skills, on networking, on South-South cooperation. So you see these are the ideas. The ideas are skills are power, networking and alliance of skill institutions are power. So today I'm really happy to join the STAR team to actually go through these slides with you. Okay, so you see, I think, yeah. I am with this project. So you see, that's the logo. I will go quickly. So the structure will be, talking about skills, technical activities together with networking. We are the networking. We are the network. We are also making a difference. And also we want to, share with you our ideas of the way forward. I'm so happy that Stefano laid out the scene. Well, actually, he touched on policies, programs. That means we translate skills anticipation into policies, into programs. The second, he touched on the key point is the standards, training modules. The third point was is matchmaking with between skills and jobs. So these are the things exactly we do here. So I'm going to be an empirical case, a study for you. So I want to start this photo. This is the launch. This was the launch of South-South Cooperation Network for skills. We are happy. Actually, I have two points here. One is about skills development. Another is South-South cooperation. So for me and also from the project we are implementing, we have two purposes. South-South cooperation is not only an instrument, but also a purpose. So this is how we say we are the network. We are the skills developers. Very proudly, I want to present to you the ASEAN TVES together with Chinese TVES. I show them over here. So I know Stefano can recognize some of the Cambodian TVES on this photo, on this slide. I only I keep only two slides here because they are peer-to-peer cooperation partners. I cut off other network members just to save your very precious time. So you see, in the past year, I'm happy to share with you. We were able to make a difference. Made very good progress in the past 12 months. We actually achieved 9 MOUs. So let's say 9 PPP, more than 20 workshops, 13 training of trainers programs, more than 500 trainers trained through this program. So as Stefano is saying, you need to look at the difficulties. So this is exactly, networking can help you overcome difficulties. we were busy actually, in Q1 this year. So we were able to make a quite big number of workshops. So these workshops are, good opportunities to get these TVETs to link up, so they can, form bilateral relations. So we were actually makers in Q1. Well, we are happy to see the positive result. So this is an example. Stefano can tell this is the TVET from Cambodia. They formed a very good relations, cooperation partnership with Hainan TVET from China. The Hainan TVET, they won global skills medals. So the Cambodians are happy to join them, because in their bilateral workshop, they also cover extension of their enrollment of students, digitalization of their TVET institution, and also quality assurance, etc. This is one example, empirical evidence of TOT between two agencies. Exactly these two agencies, a Cambodian one and also one from China. So they, we talk about skills anticipation. Maybe to your surprise, I think you need to go to the reality. That is, these schools, they will tell you what their actually skills anticipation is. So clearly, from the Cambodians and also from the Chinese, their anticipation in this TOT, they focus on mechatronics. So that is combining machining together with electronics. So this is very much digital skills. This is another peer-to-peer, MOU ceremony. So I will go through here quickly. This is also from Cambodia. You see, they give much attention to this one. Then it's also about translating into policies. This is how we actually translate skills modules into programs and also policies. This is a program with HOCA, Hospitality Cambodia. It's the Ministry of Tourism of Cambodia. So together with other ILO partners in Cambodia, we were able to make sure this training program becomes a policy and also a program in the country. So this is, you not only do this kind of curriculum development, you also go along the journey with them. You actually start this kind of training, so they don't feel difficulties in the future. This is another peer-to-peer cooperation TOT. This was as early as in March this year. This is actually about electricity safety between two schools. This is another example. Try to promote the profiling of TVET. So together with other ILO programs, we are very proud. We promoted TVET, during the TVET Day in Cambodia. So you can see the photo on the right is the ILO, booth. So my colleagues over there, disseminating ILO information. With Cambodians, we further develop e-learning platform so that training can be digitalized, especially in the context of COVID. This is very useful. This is another actually example. We not only go to at the capital, we also go to grassroots level. This is we promote PPP because quality apprenticeship is not only staying on paper, it's embraced through the project by so many enterprises. We further go to grassroots. So we link skills with job opportunities. So this ILO program, this ILO China program, not only does skills training, but also link with them to the job fairs, to the employment forum. This is another digital skills training through peer-to-peer cooperation. So you can see this time, for the Cambodians, they even focus on cloud computing. This is a very advanced topic. So this was actually, they were trained by the World Skills gold medal winner on this very advanced topic. And not only the Cambodians participated, but also other members of the skills network. For this skills development network for South-South cooperation, we have a total of 22 members. So this is also linking skills with pre-employment. Is also beneficial for youth employment. This is a job fair. So for our project, we also promote employment. We promote job fairs in the country. So for this job fair, as early as June, a time still very negative impacts of COVID, we were able to call on this job fair in Phnom Penh. So the job fair was able to provide more than 3,000 job opportunities. I'm happy to talk about this. This is again, when we talk about skills anticipation, you need to listen to our stakeholders. So here, the stakeholder gave very clear voice. They wanted us to focus on digital skills. So this training is, the training on website designing. So you see around 20, trainers from Laos. They participate this TOT. Through a peer-to-peer cooperation. This is another, this is the website designing graduation. So after, 10 weeks, 8 hours of training, they graduated from this training. They got, certificates issued by the their counterparts of Yunnan College and also ILO China program. This is MOU ceremony between Chambasa Skills Center of Laos and also Guangxi from China. So they are very happy, and also I'm happy because following this, the ILO China program was able to support Guangxi, to support Chambasa to develop IT training modules. So this is one component that Stefano highlights. This is another one, e-commerce. This is another MOU ceremony and also e-commerce training between Vientiane Capital TVET and Guangxi Machinery and Electronics. So I was there. I was able to travel in August. So I share their joyfulness in Vientiane. We were able to circulate the certificates. We are happy. This is a very inclusive session, even for people with disabilities. This is another, peer-to-peer cooperation between Hangzhou TVET and also VEDI. VEDI is the Vocational Education Development Institute. So they are the trainers college for Laos. So this is very meaningful. They signed into MOU. And later, they also started a course on electrical vehicles. So that's, again, very advanced topic. So you see skills anticipation is really a very live topic. And also even for developing countries, they focus on electrical vehicles and also digital skills. So this is another thing we try to do a documentation of skills and employment. So that for countries, they can, promote skills and employment at their national and grassroots level. This is another photo I was able to join. We supported, our counterparts to develop their employment law. So we are very happy. This is about employment promotion. So ILO plays a big role. They are also very happy. You see the participants, they are the drafting committee. They come from tripartite. They come also from the legislature of their country. This is another initiative. So, they feel difficult to implement quality apprenticeship. So we were there to support the employers organization in Laos to implement quality apprenticeship. So after August, event, they were able to kickstart a quality apprenticeship. We were also able to, challenge the difficulties. In Laos, they mentioned skills certification, skills assessment and certification is a big difficulty. They mention a lot of difficulties. As Stefano mentions, lack of fund and also, lack of expertise. So ILO is just there for them. So we were able to do this. We did 6 skills assessment and certification. So this becomes a program, a policy in the country. So I will go through this actually slides. You see they were started very early in May, in March. It was continued. So this one was in March. This is about electrical installation. This is about construction skills. We are happy. We have inclusive policy. So you see, even females, they are included in the course. Electrical installation. Another one. This is computer maintenance and repairing in May. So this is another one in Chambasa Provincial Center in March. So even during COVID, we were there, and also ILO was proud to support them. This is also about skills anticipation. You see, we were able to support these countries to do Industry 4.0. So after this, I am happy to report to you. Now they are, developing a strategy to develop their digital skills.
Thank you, Yutong. I think we have to start wrapping up because we have some more speakers. So maybe you can start giving your final points.
Yeah. Okay. Finally, you see, this is the skill needs survey as Stefano lays out is important. So that's something we did. This is, a national conference, high-profile event. We are able to support. And this is a skills competition in Cambodia. We were there again. This is the annual meeting of our network. We are very proud. So many schools they were there for the network. This is the high-level event. The Deputy Prime Minister was there to come to the ILO China counter booth for the job fair in Laos. This is the job fair in Cambodia. I was there with the Prime Minister delegate for this event. This is another. We saw this. So I go through this. This is a recognition by the ASEAN +3 labor ministers. So they noted with appreciation of the support by ILO China project. They also mentioned about the ASEAN +3 e-forum on skills development, which was held in September. They have expectation for ILO China project to make further results. So this is from the labor ministers. Now I want to show you this picture. You see the very nice, professional Anita there, and also you see Fei Xia in these photos. So I'm happy to bring you to this. This is the UN Expo. I think Anita is in a better position to share with you. So I will skip. I will follow on these points. And this is us. Kindly join us. We are a network. We are open to you all. With that, I say thank you all.
Fantastic. Xie. This was a great presentation, and you can see how so many concrete examples of actually peer learning among TVET institutions, because with Stefano and George, we're always struggling a bit to not just think about the national, but what are the binational, trinational, peer-to-peer examples. And here you have so many examples, it's almost overwhelming. So I think it's please send us the PowerPoint, and we will definitely use that for all the courses when we want to have great examples on what actually the mechanism for peer learning and twinning is. You're actually working with these TVET institutions and first doing your skills anticipation, very concrete needs, and then doing the actual very concrete trainings as well with great results. So thanks so much. And thanks for having shared also the South-South Expo, where we met with the 3 of us with Fei Xia in Bangkok for the Global South-South Expo, where we could think more about these topics, including ASEAN. So now, because we ate a little bit of time, I'm going to give the floor to Floris Prinsloo from SETA, who give a little bit of the view from South Africa. But also at the end, I noticed he has a nice slide on SADC, because we are also trying to think a bit out of the box and think like what we can do in our countries, how it can help another country in terms of skills anticipation. So over to you, Floris.
Thank you, Anita. Nice to be here. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, there we go. All good? Can you see it?
Yes,
Hello?
we do.
Okay, all right. Good. Thanks very much, colleagues, for inviting me here. I'm going to go through a set of slides that hopefully just explains the process that we go through in South Africa in trying to do skills anticipation and matching and so on. And also a little bit of content, but mostly process, so that you can hopefully learn from what we have done over the last more or less 25 years that we have been into the system. I just wanted to start off with a quote here about wisdom consists of the anticipation of consequences, because sometimes we change how we do things, and we don't always think of the consequences of those changes, particularly unintended consequences. So there's just a little tip from our side here in South Africa. Sometimes don't change too fast. We believe sometimes we have changed too fast before we've allowed a system to actually check to whether it's working or not. And talking about systems, this is this very highly complex and conflated system that we have in South Africa. I won't spend a lot of time on this, Anita, don't worry. I can spend 2 days on this explaining this, but I just wanted to illustrate that if you're not careful, you can get very, very complicated. One of the biggest objectives we have in South Africa now is to try to simplify our system. We've actually gone a little bit too far. And one of the ways that we are working extremely hard is to move the position of the employers to the front end of the post-school education and training system. Post-school is the block in the middle, universities, TVET colleges, private colleges, etc. We need the employers up front. At the moment, that is a real struggle. I think many countries struggle like that. The employers are at the back end and they're expecting the perfect student. And we're trying to say to the employers, guys, help us form the curriculum, the qualifications, what you want before they start into the system. So we are winning there, but of course, we also have to incentivize. So that little yellow block there, which talks about the levy rebate, workplace skills plans, and data. You heard Stefano talk about data. That is very critical. So we try to incentivize them to give us that. Now, how we do this is in a very, very standardized and structured way. And the first thing I'd like to indicate, in South Africa, we use a coding system for every single professional occupation that we have. It's called the Organizing Framework for Occupations, and that's what it is described as there. This is the basic design of the OFO. Anita, what I have done, by the way, on the slides, at the bottom of each slide, is a website reference for each one of these slides, because I know the colleagues may want to check some detail afterwards, so they can go to those websites and find them. For example, if you want to look at the detailed OFO, it can be found at that particular thing. But this is what this coding system looks like. It's now been running for effectively almost 16 years. We're in kind of version 14, updated regularly. Whenever a new profession comes along, we update it. It is the basis for skills planning, skills strategies, curriculum, qualification development, assessment, and certification in the occupational space. One system that covers all of that. How we get the data out of the employers is through this system. We have a levy system in South Africa where all employers pay 1% of their remuneration to the government. And that money is then split between 20% to a national skills fund to train unemployed people. The balance goes to the sector education training authorities, or SETAs. And we have 21 of them. Colleagues, this example I'm showing is the MICT SETA, which stands for Media, Information, Communication, and Technology. We also call it the digital SETA, the ICT SETA. And so this is from their little brochure. And that little block where I've put the red ring around it, every year at the end of April, they have to submit a workplace skills plan, a WSP, and an annual training report using the coding system, the OFO, to tell us which occupations can they find, which occupations can they not find, and why not. And in that way, we start identifying those occupations that are hard to find, which results in a process of funding for those occupations that we cannot find, and so on. And again, Anita, there is the reference for all the SETAs. If anybody wants to look at all 21 SETAs, so there's a SETA for construction, wholesale and retail, education and training, etc., etc. And each one of them go through this exact same process every year. They create what we call a sector skills plan framework. And this is where those examples that Stefano referred to, the different kinds of surveys, interviews, literature reviews, they develop this, and you'll see again, the data comes in from employers in that red block. We have to do additional research because many employers who are particularly small, whose remuneration is not large, don't submit workplace skills plans. They just pay a small amount of levy and write it off. And so we have to go and interview them and find out from them, over and above the data they submit, what do they need? And we have focus groups and so on. And we create what we call a sector skills plan. This is what a sector skills plan is comprised of. First of all, the sector profile. How many companies, how many people work in it, and so on. And remember, colleagues, I can just repeat, there are 21 of these. Okay, one for every sector. We look at the labor market trends. What are the sectoral key issues? Then we look at what are the change drivers? What is changing in the MICT sector? What is changing in media, information, communication technology? The supply and demand. How many people are coming into the system? What is the demand from employers? And that starts to result eventually in a skills strategy. Now, this document is published every year on the 30th of August annually, and it's also used as a basis for the strategic plan. And again, as Stefano indicated, it is the source for the sector's career opportunities guide. Those 21 documents, by the way, are submitted to the Higher Education and Training Department every year. Now, they don't just put them on the shelf, or they don't put them in the shredder, or they don't throw them away. They actually do use them. And what they do is they put them together into this document. And colleagues, this is probably the main document that I would like you to refer to. We have this every year. It's called the Skills Supply and Demand. And it really does help us in South Africa to guide future investment and interventions. And there is the website where you can find it. That website, by the way, LMI, stands for Labor Market Information Research, is a very good website with many, many reports. What do we find in this report? Well, this is the sort of information we find in there. The South African economy, the supply of skills, the demand for skills, including the drivers. What is driving the demand for skills? Globalization, etc., etc. We have a huge problem in South Africa of unemployment. Many of you will know that, especially amongst the youth. It's the highest in the world. And the latest report I can share as a result of the COVID pandemic, just look at all the negatives in terms of our industries. We lost employment everywhere except agriculture. And that makes sense because even during the pandemic, you still had to eat. So only agriculture actually created employment during the pandemic. This is between 2018 and 2021. Amongst the occupations, it was only the professionals that actually grew. And again, that made sense, particularly because you had many more health professionals that had to come into the system to help us with the COVID pandemic. This is the kind of data that you will find in this report. I can spend hours on the report. It's excellent. There are wonderful tables in the report that gives you the whole matching and skills anticipation. There was one particular table that I was particularly personally interested in, and this is the one about the predicted retirements. I still have to decide which year I'm going to retire, and I want to check whether I'm part of these statistics or not, you see. And remember, retirement is very important because when people retire, you've got a plan, you have to have a plan to replace them. So that's also in there as well. Interestingly enough, the emerging occupations, this is what we believe is going to be happening in South Africa over the next 4 years, and also the emerging skills. I'm very interested in that leadership and social influence. This is where I work, and so this is good. But I found the technology use, monitoring, and control interesting. This is about how people actually use the technology and whether they use or abuse it. very interesting new skill that's starting to emerge. And Anita, just to end off with, I did have a look at what is happening in the SADC environment. Unfortunately, I couldn't find much. I think the organization that is looking at this is called the SAQA, South African Qualifications Authority. They have been very quiet. The pandemic really hit them very hard. They had to lose quite a few staff and so on. And they've recently appointed a new lady called Ms. Starr as a CEO. I know Nadia Starr very well, and she started on the 1st of December. And if there's a need for us to contact her to find out what they are doing in the SADC with needs, then we can certainly do that. But just interesting, in their little brochure called the Southern African Development Quality, there is a quote that says they will promote quality and the relevance of education to the needs and expectations of individual learners, etc. So they do seem to have it on their radar. So in end, any design, whether it's a ship or an airplane, must be done in anticipation of potential failure. So guys, remember that when you develop something, always think about how it can also go wrong, and so that you can make sure that it doesn't go wrong. I thank you, Anita. I am on 11 minutes and 1 second. I apologize for that.
That's perfect. You were really sticking to the time, and also super interesting presentation already from South Africa, but also with this touch from, you know, what can be done in SADC. And this completes almost the BRICS panel. Now we're going to have a presentation from our colleague, Nancy Pavlova, who's going to mention a little bit how this fits into South-South cooperation, the strategy of the ILO with BRICS and G20, and some reflections that will very much be complementary to your presentation and that of Yutong. So over to you, Nancy.
Thank you, Anita, and welcome everyone. Very glad to see you again today here. So it's flattering me how you put me about the South-South Triangular Cooperation and BRICS, and yes, I will be very glad. I will try to be shorter, to save us some time for discussions. So let me share my screen with you. 1 second. I hope you can hear it. Oh, you can see it, right?
Yep.
Perfect.
We can see
Great.
it, not hear it yet.
Great. So let's start from the South Triangular Cooperation as it is. What is it as a cooperation? What is the modality, and how it works for us in terms of skills and world of work? So first of all, we would like to remind you that South Triangular Cooperation, it's a collaboration between equals based on principles of horizontality, which promotes mutual exchanges between countries of the Global South. This approach allows us promote and create new development solutions and involves a multi-stakeholder approach and multi-stakeholder partnerships, which will provide us with more constituents and participants of this process. The South-Southern Triangular Cooperation was born as an initiative, as a cooperation during the BAPA plus 40 and based on BAPA plus 40 principles. So here on the screen, you can see the main principles. BAPA plus 40, which are, first of all, national ownership, non-conditionality, complementarity, demand-driven, mutual benefit, solidarity, and which is very important for us, for all the countries. It's a respect to national sovereignty and no interference in domestic issues. So using these principles, we are able to cooperate between countries, between regions, which we'll talk a little bit more about, and complement the national interests of the countries while promoting the development cooperation. So there exist different modalities of South-South and Triangular Cooperation, which is, first of all, South-South cooperation. It's cooperation between two or more non-limited countries from Global South, or it could be Triangular Cooperation, which is basically cooperation between South-South countries, Global South countries, but with support from northern countries, the traditional development cooperation partners, which are mainly known like G7, for example. But the provided support could be in different way. So it could be the support provided in form of some financial contribution, or it could be some technical expertise, or some innovation approaches, or some skills which are can be shared in terms of cooperation. It must be demand-driven, led by developing countries, and of course it should respond to their national priorities and align with them. And of course, which is also very important, it must respect the SSTC principles of horizontality. With this, we are moving to some modalities, which are different ways of cooperation in the framework of South-Southern Triangle cooperation. It could be country to country. It could be regional or sub-regional cooperation. It could be city-to-city cooperation or fragile-to-fragile cooperation. As you can see, some modalities are almost unlimited, and they can even be combined in terms of one project if in the process of the project some of the countries or even the whole region would like to join the initiative or the process. Also, you may know that ILO structure means under itself tripartite nature, which includes governments, workers, and employers. And of course, based on this structure, we always follow it, and we always grow and provide our projects based on this structure. They are always the part of the implementation process, but they are not only one and not limited to these three main partners. This can also be regional and interregional organizations. They can be also agencies and organizations under the United Nations system. It could be bilateral agencies, academic institutions, or national institutions and framework. That also be one of the partners could be in terms of especially South-South cooperation development banks, which are taking the more and more important role and playing the more important role during the years, which were especially good reflected during the pandemic of COVID-19, when they provided a great support to many sectors of economy. Here also we would like to to talk about the role of ILO in this South-South cooperation. You should know that in 2018 was accepted to the action plan for ILO for South-Southern Triangle cooperation, and we are very happy about this. We continue developing it and work in this framework. We as ILO as a international organization has a great experience in promoting decent work based on, as I mentioned, tripartite structure, and great experience which we glad to share and promote it. And it can be a different wide range of knowledge we have, like compilation of good practices, knowledge exchange platforms, some forums, some international sites, and I think Anita can share with you our site, South-South meeting point, where you also can find some interesting information about what we do as ILO in this term. We also fostering inclusive partnerships and set strategic alliances with the purpose of transferring expertise. One of the good examples can be Alliance 8.7, where we also work where we contribute great work in terms of eliminating child labor. There are also many, we know that South-South cooperation is an important topic on different international and world meaning forums like G20, G77+, BRICS, and many others. And ILO always follows up and reports on major events, summits, meetings, and also intergovernmental decisions regarding SSTC. Also, you can, of course, you can find it on the ILO site, and the site link, Anita, for sharing in our site in terms of this. Well, we would wanted to talk about BRICS as well, and SSTC in BRICS. Of course, despite the fact that geographically Russia belongs to North, but in terms of cooperation, of course, Russia can be counted as a developing country. It has a double nature that sometimes it can play a role of the official northern donor, but rarely, and itself, Russia prefer position like developing countries and southern countries in this term. And BRICS is a global economy forum, playing now the upscaling role in building global economy, and of course it pays a lot of attention to South-South Triangle cooperation, mainly South-South cooperation. Also, if you remember, I mentioned the growing role of development banks, and BRICS has its developing bank, naming New Development Bank, and they also play the NDB, New Development Bank, also has in his portfolio a wide range of South-South projects between Russia and China and India, and many others. So here you can we'll just a little touch base about the South-South projects in our in BRICS countries. For example, in Brazil, you can see that the Brazilian government is working with a so-named S system, which is SENAI, SESC, SENAR, SESI, to improve access to skills development and redress the skills mismatches in the country. For the Brazilian Agency for Cooperation and the S system, Brazil also works with the other countries in Latin America, which is mainly regional submodality of South-South cooperation. Especially many attention Brazil paid to skills and development of skills because it's it's crucially important for building the stable and vividly developing economy. Russia has a very positive experience with the ILO regarding the G20 training system project, where we were working with the ILO at the same time in the 5 regions of Russia and 5 countries, 5 partner countries, which were namely Armenia, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Jordan, and Vietnam. I will tell a little about this positive, it was aimed on skills and developing of skills, and I will later tell a few, as Feisha mentioned, a little insider information from this project. Also, we cannot escape that India is now a contributor to South-South cooperation through the India Fund managed by UNOSSC, which is quite important and very ambitious plans we have. As my distinguished colleague Yutong mentioned, China is also super active on the track of South-South, and here you can see the mention about the project. Yutong already tell you a little bit. And also we have South Africa, which involved in several regional integration initiatives, and work very actively through both direct trust funds and African Development Bank, which is also very important. And our jointly efforts aimed on skills development programs in the region and in the country itself. So let's pass to the BRICS a little bit, because we continue working with this as a main entry to the South-South cooperation, which were one of the, let's say, pioneers in the opening of South-South cooperation as a main working instrument, and which underline quite effectively this modality of working. And we are looking for with a primary focus of technical cooperation programs and projects across education departments. Also, cannot forget to mention capacity development projects, which aim at increasing the capability and ability of a country to promote developing in a particular area, because it's one of the most important things of which we put into the basis of South-South cooperation. It's not only creating all the new technologies and initiatives, but also it's re-implementing and fostering of ability of the country to further develop this capacity development projects. Also, one of the most important things we use, it's sharing experience and good practices. Further, it could be workshops, it could be knowledge sharing platforms, because pandemic learned us the importance of digitalization of our knowledge sharing and so on. So this modality is a key to identify and learn about good practices and their further adaptation and implementation in other countries. Through their knowledge sharing, of course, it's one of the very important things for us. We also use cooperation allows us to build partnerships in sometimes in very different ways and non-expected ways, which could be, for example, regional to regional cooperation or country to country, where you find some common ground and find that some experience of the country can be re-exported and re-implemented in another one. And these are built when development agendas of two countries or regional and originators organizations converge in a common area of interest to build on development and development capacity. Creating and strengthening networks and platforms, as I mentioned, also one milestones for us, because it's very important to make this net as wide as possible, to get to be sure that as many constituents as possible are involved in this, and they can find the answers and the practices which will answer their needs. With this, that moves a little bit to mention about skills in terms of BRICS declarations and summits, because all this, it's one of the very important issues. It's a question which is always discussed and very vividly on the platform. Always, the importance of the skills developing is always underlined in every time. So here you can see the list of past summits of ministerial and declarations and summits, because as you can see on 10th and 11th BRICS summit in South Africa and Brazil, the skills, the necessary of skills development and importance of supporting the skills development, especially for young people, women and vulnerable groups, were mentioned even in summit declarations, but also the labor and employment ministers never miss an opportunity to underline the importance of the skills in their declarations. And in the 2020, they committed, even committed to enhance investments to upgrade the employability of workers through lifelong vocational education, training, upskilling, reskilling, and actively support labor market transitions through employment services, which also includes the support for skills development. And well, while we are talking today about the skills, I would like to share with you a little bit about the G20 training strategy and how it was created, how it was implemented, and how we get, what results we get through this. So first of all, we should mention that in 2013, while the presidency of Russia in G20, the Russian parliament approved the plan, the G20 training strategy project, which was expected to run for 3 years, representing the first technical cooperation project of the Russian government with the ILO. Key aspects of the project were implemented by the Moscow School of Management, known as Skolkovo, in partnership with the ILO, and the great support. First of all, it was intellectual support and technical support from ILO, which is Skolkovo, just to mention, it's the leading national business training institution with the strong support from the private sector. So they rely a lot on Skolkovo. By applying the policy and program building blocks set out in the G20 DS, the project aimed to improve the delivery of employer demand-led training in the formal, technical, and vocational education and training system. It's what mentioned Anita, TWED. As part of the project, among other the ILO's skills for trade and economic diversifications, methodology was applied. It's named as STED. These different systems of skill governance were piloted, and public-private cooperation for training was strengthened. So here you can see on your screen, I hope, the main results of the project around in numbers. So in numbers, they are, well, I can see that they were quite impressive, because the project were going for 2 phases from 2013 up to 2020. And
Hi,
unfortunately,
Nancy. Just
yeah.
to say that you have 3 more minutes to wrap up. I know it's my fault because I left. But anyway, over back to you.
Sorry, yes, I will try to wrap up quite quickly. So just to see, I will not read all the numbers because I'm pretty sure you can do it yourself. But we had really very impressive results. And as I mentioned, unfortunately, we had to slow up a little bit at the beginning of the pandemic. But what was really good, that we learned a lot of new real forms of working. And the main thing I would like to share about you, the instrument, the tool which was created by Skolkovo for this project, it was a simulator to work with the it was a simulator which allowed it to TVET simulator, which was created by Skolkovo and with updated interface, expanded set of TVET environment parameters and related analytics. It was made to help people to train themselves in different areas of work, so in and upgrade their skills in management in different sectors, because we choose the main sectors for each partner country, like tourism for Vietnam. For some regions of Russia, it was like Primorye. It was marine sector as a main one working for this region. And we take the following approach. We were training the managers, the teachers of the colleges, and then later so we just fully made the principle of re-implementation. We train the trainers who further will go to train their students and change the balance of labor market, so making merge the question and the suggestion of workers, which allows us to continue. Now I can, well, as I said, a little bit insiders. I keep in touch with the colleagues with whom we were from the governments we were working with, and I know that this project is still. It's not alive, it's closed, but the fruits on these projects are still ongoing. So the ongoing programs of developing skills, the upgrading the TVET simulator by Skolkovo, which was translated and given to Georgia and to Vietnam. It was, and it's still ongoing in terms of developing skills, and because the importance of this, which is mentioned in all the declarations, mentioned in all the summit, and I think that we all, as a part of working world, we understand how necessary and crucial for us to have better skills for better work. And here is a small finalization. It's the building blocks of the G20 strategy I mentioned, where almost everything I mentioned above, which are also the building blocks, were based on actual principles of South and Travel cooperation. Thank you, Anita, and over to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Nancy. And I realized for our colleagues here, we were a little bit ambitious with this BRICS agenda today, but I think that is great that we had this opportunity to have these examples from BRICS countries and also ASEAN, SADC, CIS, so very important. Now I'd like to give the floor for 1 minute really each, or to Duncan first and then George, to share with you, I don't know if you're managing to see my screen, the Padlet results, because I think Duncan can share with you what is said in English and George what is in Arabic, and then we can have a discussion. We have just heard that we have 5 more minutes, very graciously offered by our ITC Turin colleagues, so that will allow us for a little discussion. So over to you, Duncan.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Anita. I think
Duncan, we are not
Duncan,
hearing
you
you.
are muted.
Okay, okay, now you can hear me. Okay, so I just want to go quickly. I made a small summary on some of the discussion that are taking place on the Padlet. I must say that some of these things, I think, over and over, they have been mentioned during the various presentation. And I think one key thing that is coming out is the aspect of engagement between ITC-ILO and other ILO departments working collaboratively with the GCC countries. I think the other thing that also came out clearly was to share a virtual platform where GCC countries can also share more information on issues around skills anticipation and matching. The other thing is a platform that will combine GCC countries and improve collection of data. And I think data is, again, one thing that has been continuously mentioned. Even Stefano did mention in his presentation the all important aspect of data. And the other thing is also strengthening South-South cooperation among GCC. Just to take you back, I think we are looking at the question, what are the opportunities for knowledge sharing? So that's definitely what I'm trying to summarize. The other thing is technology, that is employing technology and moving towards productive service. So technology is another thing that has continuously been featuring in our discussion throughout these webinars. Again, is the aspect of increasing cooperation among GCC countries and exchanging experiences. And that, again, is the spirit of South-South triangular cooperation. There's a need for exchanging more experiences and exchanging good practices among GCC countries. The other thing is, again, linked to that, there's a suggestion, actually, whereby one of the participants is saying that if possible, we can have skilled workers in private sectors in the GCC countries assigned every 6 months or more in a sector within the GCC countries. So again, that support the whole aspect of knowledge exchange and also peer learning. Almost last, I think, creating and accepting skills certification and anticipation within GCC. Again, there's another good example whereby in UAE, they're organizing trips and training along leading countries for specialization in order to learn how to practice and adapt issues around skills and skills anticipation. And then that is the last bit of it. But again, there are more and more. We also encourage you to continuously share your ideas on the Padlet. So that's all from me, Anita. Over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Duncan, and you did a perfect summary in 2 minutes. And maybe, George, you can add in 1 minute or two the missing elements from the Arabic part, because there was some things that we managed to translate to English or that were written in English, but some are in Arabic, and maybe you can give us a little heads up on what was said in the Padlet.
Yeah, thank you, Anita. In fact, first, I want to thank all participants for sharing with us their ideas on the Padlet. As I see, the most of idea sometimes written in English or in Arabic, same idea. The most ideas are about the necessity of cooperation and exchange of experiences between GCC countries. Later on, I will summarize all points in English and in Arabic to be able to define an action plan for the future cooperation between ILO and GCC countries. But as I see now, I may summarize 2 or 3 points from Arabic to English. First one, by creating a platform for training between the government and benefiting from labor market studies in GCC countries. The second one, create a partnership between the ministries of human resources and work to share the knowledge of the strategic plans for the GCC countries. The necessity of cooperation between vision realization offices in the GCC countries and identifying long-term strategies. Also, the importance of involving the academic sector. and also the necessity of cooperation between GCC countries and ILO with focus on South-South cooperation. That's the main idea. Now I may summarize, but as I said, I will summarize later all points in English and in Arabic in one files and send back to you to be able to define a future action plan.
Yes, thank you so much, George. And that is such a useful offer that we will take on board for sure, because it will be really, really helpful. And as Stefano, I know you have to leave in 3 minutes, but as we will continue for another 10 minutes, thanks to the generosity here of our touring colleagues. So I just wanted to hear from the floor, but Stefano, you probably heard that creating a platform was like a bestseller. It's like everywhere, both in the Arabic and the English. I'd like to open the floor for everybody to see already if they have questions for the panelists, for Florus, Yutong, Nancy, or to yourself, or comments on the Padlet. So just the floor is open. I know Fatima and Shaima had been all along very, very proactive, but also other colleagues like Ibrahim and Saleh Alzani, Muklad Hamad. So anybody is, of course, very welcome to take the floor. If not, then we'll be in touch by virtual means. I don't see any hands, but please and you can speak in Arabic, by the way.
Yeah, you may speak in Arabic, please. فيكم تحكوا بالعربي ده يعني ما تعطلوا هم.
You can speak Arabic. Don't worry about the interpretation. There is simultaneous interpretation. We would like to hear you in Arabic, not only in English.
I hope we did not scare you, because I don't
أمل أننا لا
لا نحب أن نشكركم فقط.
We only want to thank you for this webinar. You enriched our information and knowledge. As for me, I don't have any questions. Thank you very much. But there is only one point that I already wrote, which is the turnover of the personnel amongst the GCC countries. What I mean that when we have skilled labor or distinguished skilled labor, they could be assigned for 6 months in a country and another 6 months actually in another country, maybe in the field of oil, for example, or the oil and gas sector, in order to turn around our expertise and also to gain expertise by peer learning between the different GCC countries. So it is a very important aspect. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, go ahead. Also, sorry, I didn't know if you had finished or not. So thank you so much for your comment on the peer learning, and I'm glad that was useful for you. Just checking if any other colleague would like to take the floor. If not, what we can do is just ask our panelists to give 30 seconds little recommendation for action for how to continue this work. Maybe starting by you, Stefano, as I know you have to leave.
Yeah, I think it was very interesting to hear also the points that were and read the points that were written in the Padlet. I think that there is a high potential for a better integration in the countries. This is something that we have been discussing in the last 2 months in the different courses. It's interesting to see also, of course, how skills anticipation is one of the hottest topic there. So it's really one of the things that can be done together that can benefit the different countries. So I think that this is also a message that we're going to convey to the ILO regional office in Beirut, so that follow-up, let's say, actions can be defined and designed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Feisha, maybe you have a minute.
Oh, I just want to say this is a very fruitful sharing of all the experience, especially those valuable experience from different aspects, and those have been very sharp observations from the practitioners with years of experience. So I do hope that our participants could reflect on those examples, especially the PPTs they have shared with us, and to say how to adapt their practice into GCC countries. And I think we could have more thoughts among the members ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Florus, maybe a little thought on this question that Feisha just said about the adaptation of your experience to GCC?
Thanks very much, Anita. And again, thank you all the colleagues for allowing us to be part of this fascinating process. And I've just got two really important points. I think one is the stakeholder involvement, including as many people as possible. The ILO model, it's the best way to do it. There's no doubt. The richness of the process is the fruits. It takes a little bit longer, but you get a fascinating and a really, really good solution. At the same time, just a caution, wherever possible, try to keep it simple. This is where I think we've made one or two mistakes. We got a little bit complicated and allowed each of our sectors to go off on their own instead of trying to keep a little bit more standardized and so on. And we are now, unfortunately, trying to unscramble that a little bit, but we are winning. I think it's getting better. But maybe one tip, effective but simple. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And maybe you, Tong, you can reflect on that and how, for example, your great experience with ASEAN can also help GCC countries.
Great. I thought and also appreciate colleagues' opinions, especially you highlight the platform, you highlight South-South cooperation, and Anita is giving me also a good, advice. That is, linking ASEAN cooperation with GCC. That would be really useful for us. I also think about to use ICT instrument. That would be, to build up a platform, a mobile app, to upload training materials, especially skills anticipation and also materials curriculum, because sharing is power, networking is power. So we want to use this networking. I would like to, the project currently developing this mobile app. So hopefully I can invite Anita, Feisha, and Nancy to actually help me launch this event in the near future with GCC. Back to you.
That would be really lovely. And we count on the GCC countries here present to extend the invitation, and we'll all come for sure. Nancy, maybe you have your 2 cents as well on how, for example, your example could benefit GCC countries and vice versa in terms of South-South.
Oh, I believe I already were talking too much today, but yes, I think that as I mentioned, this threat simulator created by Skolkovo, I think it can be also very useful for GCC countries in terms of adaptation, and like one of the working tools and mechanisms which provides its usefulness, and I think it's just we can make some negotiation with Skolkovo about the translation into Arabic, and it will be also one of the good tool for the strategy of developing skills in future and skills policy in GCC. That's like from my side.
That's a very concrete suggestion to translate to Arabic many of the tools.
Yes, yes.
Duncan, maybe your last 2 cents. Duncan, do you have a last 2 cents? We cannot hear you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, if I may, I think 2 things. There's important of really strengthening partnership among GCC countries. I think that is one thing that really need to be strengthened. And then secondly, I think we also need to focus on capacity development. I think more and more we need to focus on this. This is just the beginning in terms of some of this webinar that we're having. And then lastly, we also need to focus on sharing good practices. So those are my closing remarks.
Great. And then over to you, George. for your last exciting idea.
Yeah, I just want to thank participants from GCC countries to be with us during this month. I hope that we were able to explain to them the necessary information related to skills needs, the matching and the anticipation. And we are ready for further cooperation in the future based on any action plan we may define later. I just want to thank you all teams, starting from Mr. Stefano to all of you to be with us during this month. So thank you all. And that's it. Thank you.
Yes, and a good point about that Nancy just told me, like, I know this will all be in your platform, but if there's any exciting PowerPoints that you've seen here or some interesting information, please save it before we leave, because then it will disappear the chat. I just wanted to close and by also adding my thanks to those of George and Stefano, to the whole team, including Asma and Duncan, who have been working throughout to make this a total success. I have to also thank Google Translate, because I've been using it very often for Arabic. And I just wanted to close by reading what Ibrahim said, which I had put in the chat, but I thought it was a great comment. And I noticed he didn't want to take the floor, so he put it in private for me. And he said that in his opinion, increasing cooperation among GCC countries through the platforms and departments available together in each platform and exchanging experiences is one way out. And the second step is this skilled workers, private sector exchanges. For example, he said 6 months. So this kind of study tour. So these are the two modalities, as you could see with Nancy in her presentation, that we use in terms of South-South. So I'm so happy that this is, what people want. We have a platform which I shared a couple of times here, but it's not in Arabic. So it would be my homework, maybe with Stefano, to try to have an Arabic version of the skills platform that we have. And also whatever platforms you have, we can also try to co-host. So I think that would be maybe Stefano, our work for 2023 is to find with Kishore and the colleagues in the regional office, plus the GCC countries that are supporting, what we can do, to have this good practices systematically shared. So I'd like to thank once more the whole BRICS panel. I don't know if Stefano wants to say a final word of thanks to everybody.
No, just thank to you, Anita, of course, for the support that you have given, you and your team, to this endeavor. I think it was great to be able to deliver, this amount of courses in such a short time, based on the requests that we got also from the GCC countries. And of course, saying that we are happy to continue working on those topics together with you. Once again, thanks to also all the panelists joining us from many parts of the world. It was really a global experience this morning. And once again, thanks to all the participants. And I think we can conclude the synchronous part of the course. Please continue doing the learning activities on the platform. This will give you the opportunity to get your certificate of participation for the course before the end of the year. So please move on with the different activities so that you will qualify to get the certificate of participation, which of course is also needed for the participants. So thank you to everybody, and shukran.
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 Shukran. Thank
you.
you.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks to the BRICS panel. Thanks, George.
Okay, bye.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. It was a
شكرا
pleasure.
لكم. مع السلامة. مع السلامة. شكرا.
Shukran.